Well, for one, I don't use exams. Other faculty members use exams, so it doesn't mean you can't use exams on a block system, but I don't use exams. My evaluations are what we call in the business more formative evaluations. I'm trying to get them to constantly improve, but my summative evaluations, if I can use that term, usually involve essays as well as public presentations, because two of my learning objectives are to get them to be able to write in a very articulate fashion and to make them feel confident in public speaking. And so I have them do a lot more public speaking than I ever would if I was lecturing to them. And at the same time, I want to make sure that they're writing writing English in an organized fashion.
Evaluation is challenging on the block plan because simply having time to read and iterate and get comments back to students takes our time. And it's something that really needs to be thought about when scheduling the course. What I tend to do is have something early on, say day 3 or 4, where I'm assessing their performance. I've done it through quizzes, I've done it through what they would call an exam, I've done it through a presentation. And what it does is it allows the professor to set the expectations for the course. What can happen, and what's a bit of a trap to fall through, is that you keep building and building and building to a final assignment that you're going to grade. And the students get quite frustrated because they have no idea what the expectations are and how they're doing in the course. And while it can be frustrating for us to say, don't worry about it, just work hard, often they need to know what the expectations are. So by assessing early, even if it's one thing, and you can give comments early, to let them know at the level they should be performing. What we find is if they all do the same assignment, for example, there'll be commonalities in the students that they're weak at or that they didn't understand, or maybe we didn't present it well enough. And so I cover that in class. And then I'll say to the students, if you have extra questions, please ask me. And that takes care of most of the feedback, and it really cuts down on the time that the professor has to spend, because on the block you really need to take care of yourself as well, as to not be doing all this work for each student, writing pages and pages of evaluation when you don't have time to do it.
At a traditional university, I was giving them essentially a textbook to read. And then I would give them, depending on the course, usually they would have some sort of midterm exam, some sort of final exam, and a large paper. That was sort of the arc of the course. In something like a research methods class, I would have them do a ethics board protocol, their methods, their essentially what they were going to do, collect the data, analyze the data, and then present their projects to each other. So for their, I'm across from the faculty lounge, for courses at Quest, what I do is I typically ask for some sort of proposal for a final project, and I keep my final project really open so they can do whatever they're interested in that relates to the class. So they send me a proposal and say, this is what I'm going to do my final project in, and then I lead them through how to do that. So they'll do oftentimes an annotated bibliography, a research methods, 250 words for research methods, and maybe some classes a lit review that's about 5 pages long. And then they work this into some sort of final project. And that final project might be a written paper. That final project might be a conference presentation where they've done all the steps, so I know they've learned everything. I don't then need them to put it into a 10-page paper. So then they can put it into a conference presentation. They do 2 days of conference presentations where they get asked questions. They know that I'm going to ask them the hardest question I can think of. So they've oftentimes done excess background research. And what that means is that I've seen them step all the way through the project. I've had a go at their writing in different ways, either through annotated bibliographies, through literature reviews, through methods, things like that. And then they have to present it. So then I can grade their presentations in the last piece of the block, which means that I'm not grading 20 10-page papers over the block break.
Another aspect about the block that's really important to get right is the pacing. And it's important to get it right not just for the students but for the faculty member. Because when you give an assignment on Monday and it's due, say, on Wednesday, you can't say, oh, okay, well, I'll grade that on Sunday or something like that, because a third of the semester is gone by then. The students need feedback all the time. And so both from their getting things done and from your getting it back to them, you have to think very carefully about how you're laying out the assignments over the course of the 4 weeks to make sure that you're going to be able to get them feedback and you're not going to overwhelm them with too many things to do. We have a few people that teach, especially science classes. They give in-class exams and they add up, and they give homeworks and they add up the scores and they give a grade. So that doesn't have to be different. Most of us, because most of us do require collaboration, have a participation grade in class because it's so important in this small class environment. But the participation grade has two parts. It's my evaluation of each student's contributions to the class. But then I hand out a sheet the last day of class and I say, okay, you have 35 points. You can assign 0 to 5 points to everybody else in the class besides yourself. Tell me how much value they brought to your working in this class.
Trying to take a semester course and map it onto the block doesn't work easily. For example, in a semester course, let's say I'm teaching 15 weeks of a math course, and every week I have an assignment with 10 or so problems on it. If I try and turn that into a block system and say every day I'm going to have them do an assignment that's 10 problems, they will get overwhelmed by that. So I have reconfigured my assignments. Normally when I taught on the semester system, the assignments were little problems, like little drill problems that students would be working on, special cases of things, etc., and I'd give them 10 a week. On the block, what I do is I actually give them maybe 2 assignments per week, and the questions there are fewer questions. Maybe there are only 5 to 10 problems per assignment, and I'm giving 2 of those a week. But those questions are focused and deep, so they often have multiple parts. So if I gave a 5-question homework assignment, each of those questions would probably have multiple parts. It would probably have an easier part at the start, a medium part, and maybe a challenging part at the end. And it would explore something deeply. So the idea is that because they don't have a lot of time they don't have a week to complete this assignment, what I want them to do is get to the heart of the matter as best they can and to practice the most important skills. So I don't give a lot of drill problems. Instead, I give more focused, deeper problems. It takes a while to develop those problems, and I continually am rethinking that. So it takes a while to kind of create assignments that work well with that. I also try to have assignments that aren't just mathematical assignments, that also balance other things. So when I teach a math foundation course, every week the students have a mathematical assignment, but then they also have something like a writing assignment or a presentation or something else that's having them think about the topic, the course material, but is having them practice a different skill, like writing or speaking. So in a given block, I probably have on average maybe 7 major assignments, something like this. Calculus, it's a little bit more. I bet there's probably 10 major assignments. So for an upper level course, there may be 10 or maybe 7 to 10, something like this. But the assignments are meant to really get at the root of the activity, the root ideas, and have them practice the fundamental ideas rather than a bunch of little drill problems. And so to try and set those up and keep up with the marking is the goal during the block.